right, welcome to Booked All Night, the podcast where hot takes meet craft notes and nobody gets any sleep these days. I am your host, Jessica, and tonight I am joined by Briana N. Cox, screenwriter, indie author, and speech pathologist, which is good because I've been struggling to pronounce the name of your book. My mouth does not want to. I'm like, okay, so indigenous, indig, So if you could tell our
Close.
viewers real quick how to pronounce the title of your book.
Oh, it is pronounced indigent. And I
Indigent.
picked a word no one knows on purpose. So you're fine. You're good. You shouldn't feel bad.
Perfect. I was like, I can think of 16 ways to Sunday to pronounce this word, which is an unfortunate side effect of taking your education in the English literature department. You're like, 50 ways to Sunday. Well, before we talk directly about the book, we are actually going to play just a little game of now I really can't talk. We are going to play a little game of superlatives. And it's basically just like standard yearbook fare. So the first one is, of the characters in your novel, who is most likely to survive a horror movie?
Oh, that is very tough because I guess spoilers, light spoilers, they're not very good at it in general since it is a horror book. I guess I'll say the main character's mom because like she is a black woman in her 40s. That's a pretty good demographic for people who know what to do in a
Mm-hmm.
horror movie.
True facts. Who is most likely to start the haunting by accident?
I'm going to go with probably our deuteragonist Ari, mainly just because he's a mess. And I feel like if anyone was going to do something horrific on accident, it would probably be him.
I feel like I would probably be the one to start a haunting in trying to pronounce words. Just no, actually, I think it would be Maggie and Katie. I think producer Rob can probably confirm that. I have corrected them, and they're not here to defend themselves, so they can't pronounce anything. It's fine. It just means that you haven't heard the word, you've only read the word. The next one is
Oh, that's
most likely to make a deal with something they shouldn't.
um, I will go with. I feel like a lot of my characters are smart. I'm gonna go with the other mother character, Lena. Not because she isn't smart, but because I feel like you would be able to charm her into doing it very easily. By like saying you like her cooking or like her dress,
Oh,
and then she'd like just fall for it.
instant compliment. You'd be like, "You want my name, fairies? That's fine. Here's my full government name. It's cool." And the last one is most likely to keep everyone alive through pure spite.
No, out of pure spite, I will say that is probably just the main character, Xavier, because that's literally just what he does throughout that entire book. It's just stay alive and keep the people who he likes alive out of pure spite for other people.
Lovely. And now, to absolutely kick us off into the interview, why don't you tell our audience all about your book?
Yes, so my upcoming horror novel, Indigent, is coming out March 20th, which is International Parasite Day, apparently. Not on purpose, but it is
What a
a
great
body horror
day.
parasite book. So wound up being very fortuitous for me. And yeah, it is centered around just like this old, crappy, crumbling apartment complex in Atlanta, Georgia, where a bunch of squatters show up who may or may not have horrific mutant vampire worms. And they just cause chaos in this working class apartment complex in the middle of a working class Atlanta neighborhood. And just all of the fun body horror stuff that implies.
I did not know that we had a day for parasites.
I not either. I feel like I Googled it to see like I should like make an Instagram post for whatever day that is. just because it's relevant to my book. It's like, oh, it's when the book's coming out. How convenient.
Lovely. Celebrate International Parasite Day by reading Indigent.
Well, it's Parasite Awareness Day,
Parasite
so be
Awareness Day.
aware
I
of
missed
it.
that. Okay. That is a good thing. If anybody else lives in New Jersey, that is a very good thing to be aware of because we have ticks like crazy in New Jersey. And as someone who has had tick borne parasites, they suck. So keep an eye out. So, my very first question, talking point, is actually about the title itself. Indigent, for those at home, is an extremely poor person who is unable to afford basic necessities like food, clothing, shelter, and very particularly the cost of legal representation. So, my question here is their lives sound bad enough without vampire parasites. Why put them through a horror story?
So this book was inspired largely by like me working in healthcare and like working in specifically home health where I'm just ping ponging between areas of like really like high economic access and like non-existent economic access. So like I'll go to like a mansion and then I'll drive an hour out and I'll go to like a trailer that doesn't have running water, and like both of these people need medical care, both of these people need help,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing the disparities between those two things. I don't want to gross people out too much, but it is specifically inspired by a maggot related incident where it's like and just the question of like, why didn't you get help for this maggot related incident? Well, because I couldn't afford it, I didn't want to, and just like looking into just trying to be more like empathetic with
Mm-hmm.
this situation and not just be like, you're stupid for not getting health care for an obvious problem. Like, what is prompting people to not get help for an obvious problem? And just trying to really sit with empathy for those kinds of people who feel like they don't have options.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, technically, I guess I didn't need to make it a vampire parasite story, but I also wanted to make a vampire book, so I decided to combine those two things together.
Smush them together, just like now kiss.
Mhm.
I love genre blending. It's always fun, and I don't mind grossing people out. So I'm gonna tell a story about maggots because it's fun like that. Because you said the word. My mom had this old fridge in the garage, and at one point it had stopped working, and she forgot that there was food inside of it, and unplugged it. And
No.
oh yeah, many years later, we finally got to that section of the garage and opened it, and
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah, it was gross. Enjoy that, everybody! First interview of the season. Just little like
Yay.
yay. So there are so many places in the world, unfortunately, like the apartments that you've described. How did you build such a haunting sense of place? Like what were your references and things?
I was really inspired, like I want to say like first and foremost by some of the more foundational vampire literature that came out in like late 20th century, early 2000s. So Salem's Lot is the obvious one where like it's called Salem's Lot. It is named after a place. A sense of place is very important in that book. And then also Let the Right One In by John Ashby Lindqvist, which is, I think it was adapted into a movie called Let Me In, but he's like Norwegian, I'm pretty sure. But
I'll write
that
that one down.
was much more like urban fiction inspired. So like
Mm-hmm.
they are in urban Stockholm and like a vampire shows up and it's just here's a vampire living in urban Stockholm. So that's contrast in like the content and the setting where it's like this ancient vampire with like just modern architecture and just modern urban problems. I really resonated with when I read that an undisclosed amount of years ago that I don't say. So those are the two big like literary inspirations I think,
Mm-hmm.
just when it came to getting that sense of place and really firmly rooting it in that location.
Mhm.
So like this story could not happen in some other place that operates in a different way. So I wanted to make sure the location was incredibly important that way.
Yeah. Also, I think horror specifically as a genre, the place and the setting are so intrinsic to it cuz like
Mhm.
could you imagine like a horror movie set in like a Disney park? You know, like it's so happy and go lucky like you would really have to twist some things. I mean, there are horror books, horror stories set in abandoned amusement parks, but like something that was not inherently frightening at first, I don't think could really carry it.
Mhm. Like I think there is a horror movie set in Disney.
There
I also
probably
think I
is.
didn't like it that much, so I don't remember what it's called. So I feel like there might be one.
There's at least one. We're going to go hunting for it when I'm done this interview, and it's fine. My last question of this section is what do you want readers to take away from the tension between survival and consumption in this particular book?
The main thing I want readers to take away is like, I guess if I want to be pithy, I can just say, like, I want you to feel like you have worms and like feel bad about it. But just generally, I like wrote this book as an exercise in like empathy. So having empathy for like certain characters or certain demographics, like fictional and real,
Mm-hmm.
that we would write off for like being stupid in real life, essentially. So just like take away like the moral that you should probably extend more grace to people who are in these situations. But yeah, I also firmly believe in like death of the author and stuff like that. So they can take away whatever they want from this book.
Yes, I firmly believe in reader response. I bring it up every single episode we have where it's like you bring yourself to the text. So if you take something away that I didn't intend for it to be there, great. Let's talk about it.
Mm,
I also do want to add in that like people that are often in that demographic or even people who are chronically ill regardless of their income, it's very difficult to juggle everything that is wrong with you. And so it's like if you had a wound on your leg but it wasn't bothering you, but you had like, you were missing your arm, you'd focus on the arm. And I think some people
yep. Yeah.
don't maybe understand that. They're like, but your leg is bad too. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have the space for that in my head right now. The arm is pressing, the leg is not.
Yeah. A bunch of compartmentalization there.
Yes. Which brings us to the first game of the podcast.
Right. I'm ready. Probably. Now let's see.
So this is literary Would You Rather. Played just like any other game of Would You Rather. I'm going to give you Would You A or B, you tell me why, etc. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Number one, would you rather spend a night in Lee Pierce Estates or in the Overlook Hotel, which is from Stephen King's The Shining?
Oh no. Is it Stephen King's The Shining, the book, or the movie?
The book.
Okay. Ah, they're like more racist in the book. I
Yeah,
guess
they
I'll
are.
go with my apartment complex because there's no racist ghost in the apartments in my book.
I will take vampire maggots over racists any day.
Like, you can avoid the vampire worms if you really feel like it. Like,
If you
I
really
feel like
try, you can do
avoiding the racist ghost would be tougher.
it. Would you rather read a book that ends with everybody dying or one that ends with no answers at all?
um, I will go with the first one because that's at least some kind of closure if it's
Yeah.
earned. I guess you could also earn not answering any questions, but that's much tougher to do. So yeah, first one.
I gotta be honest, when I put these things together, I tend to put like a bunch of like, notes in a hat kind of thing and pull them out to see what I want to do. And when I pulled that out, I was like, I would throw my Kindle across the room if I finished a book and nothing got answered. It would just be like shatter. I would be so mad. Everybody can die, but I need answers.
But
That's all it needs. Would you rather be haunted by your own words or have someone else take credit for them?
I guess I'd go with the first one. Yeah, I'm like a morbid Edgar Allan Poe tattoo having girly, so like being haunted by my own words, I guess, is fine.
Would you rather never be able to stop reading horror or never be able to stop living it?
um, yeah, that is,
Yeah,
I
that's
guess.
given the recent state of things.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much of a like, would you rather there.
Yeah. Hmm.
I guess I would rather stop reading it than it being IRL, relatively. But that also doesn't seem like an option right now.
Yeah, it
So
sure doesn't.
maybe.
Hmm. And the final one is, would you rather your protagonist betray you or save you?
Um, my protagonist is a very sad boy, and I feel like betraying anyone would be very hard on his sad boy psyche. So I'll go with I would rather be saved by that person.
Which brings us back to questions. So, this next section is for anyone who has been a fan of the podcast, or if you're new here, this middle section is about writing, reading, and craft questions. Your work highlights overlooked demographics, as we discussed at the beginning, with some dark humor and some empathy that I found in some reviews. How do you strike that balance between horror and humanity?
For me, I have really kind of just landed on the explanation that I don't think horror is a genre, really. I think it's just a lens that you can see things through. So any individual person can find any individual thing horrific, really. It's just a matter of like explaining that and eliciting empathy from other people who don't understand yet. So I actually think it is pretty not easy, but like it's intuitive to create a character who has their own fears for their own reasons and have that feed into the horror, just because horror is inherently about trying to explain why something is scary to people who may not get it.
Do you think horror then is like a better genre for exploration of perhaps life than other genres?
Um, I'm not sure I would say it's a better genre. Like, obviously, for me, I'm a speculative fiction writer, so I think it's the more interesting one. But yeah, I think horror is just like because it has such this external reputation of already being like kind of weird and niche. I think horror is much more open to discussing these like ideas that we're not supposed to be talking about.
Mhm.
So it can be like weird horror things. It's like, yeah, we probably should just not talk about that. But it could also just be like social marginalization that everyone's kind of just swept under the rug.
Mhm.
Where because horror deals in the taboo, it is much more open to actually addressing that kind of thing,
Mhm.
which is why I was really drawn to it when I started writing, I think.
That's great. You also come from a screenwriting and playwriting background. So how do you approach pacing and tension in your prose? Like, do you find that different at all?
Yeah, it is super different. Like my like book writing process is like very weird and roundabout. Where Indigent was a screenplay first, like a film script,
Mm-hmm.
and like it did well, like accolades wise, but surprise, surprise, no one wanted to give me like $2 million to make a cannibal movie. So it's like, all right, I'm going to like adapt this into a manuscript so people can actually like have the story because I
Mm-hmm.
want people to have this story. So it's gotten to the point where I essentially just write a film script and I use that as an outline for a book to expand on more. So it's definitely different. There's obviously much more interiority in a
Yeah.
book than in a script. So, like, the conversations in the movie are very different from the conversations in the book because we already know all that stuff in the book by the time they get to the conversation. So it's allowed me to really expand on stuff a lot more in a way that's super enjoyable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would not recommend people's writing process be write a movie first and then turn it into a book. But that's what I tend to do.
It's oddly enough similar. So I am very good at writing dialogue. Right now, I'm not very good at talking. A very poor thing for a podcast host to have an issue with. But dialogue comes much easier to me. And so there are some things where I have written out all of the dialogue of, at the very least, like the next couple of chapters. And then I go back through and I'm like, there should be some action and some description in here because otherwise my writing starts to feel a little like Frog and Toad, where Frog, they just go back and forth and tell you exactly what's happening. I see that you have had a very impressive run with fellowships and labs and things. What's one thing that those experience? Uh, I can't talk. I can't read. This is great. First, you
You're
know
fine.
what? First interview of the season. It's fine. Get all my stutters out. It'll be great. So you've had a great many fellowships. And what would you say is one lesson from those experiences that has shaped your storytelling the most?
I think the thing that like you take away from any like lab or fellowship or like incubator or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is you're doing is the idea that like your work is not going to be for everyone, but you do have the opportunity for it to really resonate with whoever it is for. So all of these different like labs and stuff like that are very, very helpful in helping you really narrow down who it is you're trying to get this story out to and who you're trying to speak to and who is like the audience for what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And they also get you very, very good at just being okay with your like story not being for someone else. So like, oh, we got feedback from this person. They didn't like it. Too bad. It's not for them. I'm going to go with this other person who is more interested. And just giving you that opportunity to just like take rejection easily and let it roll off you and then keep going.
Audience theory. Oh, I heard the word audience, and I do love audience theory. It's just so. My first off of that is like, who would you say is your ideal audience?
Yeah, for right now, I do not want to go down a rabbit hole with this one. I have also been going off like on my social media about audience stuff and like being specific about an audience and picking the audience and picking
Mm-hmm.
the lens that the audience resonates with and all of this stuff. So I think the audience for Indigent actually wound up being fairly broad because it's just like people with medical trauma, which is almost everyone in the United States,
Yeah.
which wasn't what I initially intended the audience to be. But like I started getting like advanced reader reviews back, and all of them were not all of them, but like most of them were very, very like connected to that idea. Like some of them even gave like borderline TMI, like, this is why I resonate with this. Here is my medical trauma story. So it's like, all right, this is an idea that really connects with people in a way that I did not expect, really. Because I initially had it be like, oh, this was for like people of color, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So working class people of color. And it still is in my brain, but it has resonated with far more people than that now that it's actually out in the world. And I'm not going to complain about that. So,
My second point to jump off of that is, have you read? It's a craft book. It's called "Craft in the Real World" by Matthew Salesses.
I have not read that. I've read his fiction before and I want to read his craft book, but I have not gotten to it yet.
So one of the great takeaways from that is that he critiques the Iowa workshop. For everyone at home, if you don't know, the Iowa workshop is pretty much your standard creative writing workshop. You bring your writing, you, the writer, don't say anything, and everybody talks about it around you. And there's a lot of failings with it, from, not being able to interact and defend your work, or to ask for somebody to kind of like further that. But the workshop itself is inherently very white. So if you are a person of color or someone who is not white American and you bring your work in, and you have, his example was a Korean man writing about kimchi.
Mhm.
He, this Korean man would never define what kimchi is in his home, so why would he do it in his writing? But in the Iowa workshop, that's all that's going to be talked about, is I have no idea what this food is. And so you have to define it for that audience.
Mhm.
And I really loved that, because a lot of the I've been through a great many creative writing workshops, and there are some people whom I love and who know that I am calling them out directly, who wanted to be helpful but wrote pretty harmful stereotypes of people of color, and immigrants in general, and Italians that speak like Mario and Luigi
No,
kind of
no.
thing. Yeah, and it's like, like, I know that you're trying to help, but it's not your place. And one of them, and I will never forget this one, but one of them was just like, I sat down to dinner with my African American family, and I'm like, no one would ever say that. Not a single person comes up to you and introduces themselves by their skin color, because you can see them. You don't need to do this. Like, what is going on? And I've seen a few published books, because I still review on NetGalley and other things, and I've seen a couple of them come out where they're like, oh, my black skin. And I'm like, but you wouldn't. You just wouldn't. You just wouldn't say that. And you wouldn't do it about a white character either. There's not a single person that comes up to you, like my pasty white ass would never walk up to you and be like, hi, I'm Jessica, I'm white. Like, you can see that. You can probably hear that the way that I talk from many, many years of speech therapy and other things. And it's always bugged me. So I just wanted to go on that little rant for a moment. And then this last question in this section actually comes from our Discord server, from Arlo Z. Graves, friend of the podcast and an author. They are interested in how you approach screenplays versus prose. They noted that a script looks a lot different on the page than prose would, and I think we did talk about it a little bit earlier, but they specifically wanted to know if your process for building an actual story was different, screenwriting versus a book.
I would say that it is fairly different, just because what you are prioritizing in a screenplay in like a visual medium is going to be different than what you're prioritizing in a book. Because, like, in the end of the day, you're not writing a screenplay to be like bound and like put in a book for people to read. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
writing a screenplay to be a blueprint for something else, to be a like made into a final product.
Yeah.
So a screenplay is not a final product. It is essentially the outline for one. So screenplays are much more like concise. They're much
Mm-hmm.
more focused on imagery, obviously. They're much more focused on trying to get across exposition like naturalistically, in a way that you can very easily do in a book, just because you have prose and you can just explain stuff however you want.
Yeah.
So, what is prioritized with a script is going to be very, very different than what's prioritized in a book. So, Indigent specifically is written in like a stream of consciousness style writing, which like you can kind of, I guess, get across in a script if you do a bunch of director's notes. But lots of people do not want you to do a bunch of director's notes in a screenplay if you're not directing it. So it has to be much more pared down
Mm-hmm.
in many ways. A good example is like, I have a conversation between like the protagonist and the deuteragonist, where there's like sitting on a roof and like smoking and talking about stuff, and it's like dead in the middle of like both of the stories. And the conversation is completely and totally different between those two, just because like they have to give information that the script was not able to give beforehand, but the book gave that information, so the conversation can be about something else, and it can like add more to their characters that the script wasn't able to touch on as much.
Hmm.
So it's really just that difference between you are concisely making a blueprint for something to be translated into visuals, or you are trying to create a finished product for people to read. So, two very, very different things.
And then I have a question. I think it's like the second time I've heard you say this word. Is it deuterogonist or deuterogonist?
Oh, the deuteragonist. I don't know if it's pronounced deuteragonist or deuteragonist, but it's just like the second main character. So, protagonist, deuteragonist. Yeah.
It's deuterogonist. Thank you, producer Rob. To
There we
Paris.
go.
Yes. I was like, that's a word. And if I have heard that before, it's been a very long time since I've heard the word. And that actually brings us to the second game of the podcast, which is Never Have I Ever Spoiled My Own Book.
Um, I know. Am I putting up hands? I don't
Yeah,
know. I
I
have
have
done that though.
I have a pencil and I have paper and I will keep track for you. So I have 10 prompts here, and they are stereotypical things. I am, however, not above doing things like never have I ever released a book on International Parasite Awareness Day, or never have I ever written a book titled Indigent. I am incredibly petty with this particular game. So, with that said, do you have any questions?
Nope, I am good. We can get into it.
Lovely. Number one, never have I ever said just one more chapter while reading horror and accidentally stayed up an hour or so that shouldn't exist.
Um, I have, but not recently because I am now in my 30s and my body will shut off if I try to stay up too late. So that is a young person's mistake, not mine.
Yes, it is. I like to play this game called Race My Nighttime Meds because they all put me to sleep. And then it's,
Mm.
I wake up in the morning and I wonder what I can actually remember. The answer is nothing. I can't remember anything.
Yeah, mine is 11. I will stay up reading until then, and then I am dead.
To the world. Just out. Number two. Never have I ever read a horror book at night and then become convinced every sound in my house was something supernatural and personal.
Oh yeah, definitely. I read Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I think that was the most recent horror book I've read.
Mm-hmm.
And like I read like literally just the first two chapters. Like nothing scary even happened yet. And I had like horrific nightmares and I woke up in the middle of the night and was freaking out, which I guess is an endorsement of that book.
Right? Sometimes I read spooky books like I'm not alone in the house.
Hmm.
Like I can read that. It's fine. Oh, the sun is down. Okay. Never have I ever finished a horrifying scene and had to sit in silence because my soul needed a loading screen.
Yeah, I have done that before. Yeah, Indigent is a cannibal book. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a given. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm incredibly petty with this
Yeah.
particular list. Yeah. Never have I ever Googled something for writing research that would absolutely put me in a crime documentary.
I have not for this book, conveniently enough. My partner is a zoologist, biologist,
Mhm.
whatever. So I literally just had to ask him a bunch of terrifying parasite questions, and he would just tell me. So I didn't have to put that in my search history, which is good.
On on one hand, hooray! Like, on the other hand, now you're haunted by the knowledge of all this parasite information.
Yeah.
So as you are on, I keep smacking my mic. As you are on number 4 that you have done, I do have to let you know, because I think I forgot to say it at the beginning of it, if you have done 5 or more of these things on this list, you have to spoil something from beyond Act 1 of your book.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll pick something.
Yeah. With that said, never have I ever checked locks, windows, or closets after reading a horror book.
Oh, I've never done that because I don't check locks and windows like normally. Like I'm awful at keeping things unlocked. So
You're like, whatever. They get me, they get me. Never have I ever developed a problematic crush on a horror character and defended them like a lawyer.
oh no, that one's not fair. So the answer to that is yes.
That's
Yeah. So you said after the first act.
yes.
So I guess I could be very, very basic and be like, oh, the main character does a cannibalism, but also that's like on the back of the book. So I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, something else.
how about I will say the boys maybe, probably, I'm not sure, but very likely kiss at some points.
Yeah. Now, how to get Maggie to read horror? Make it gay. Finally. Finally, I'm gonna
Oh
get
yeah,
Maggie
it
into
is
scary
incredibly
books.
good. Oh, we going if we're going back to the difference between our screenplay and our book, the book is so much gayer than our screenplay.
Put that on a
Like
t-shirt.
it's
The
kind
book
of
is so much gay.
ridiculous how much more gay the book is.
That's how I'm gonna get Maggie into spooky books.
Yep.
Get her into gay spooky books. And just to finish out the rest of the stuff that I no longer have to keep track. Never have I ever had to physically walk away from a book or my laptop because the scene was too much.
I've only done it once, but I have done it before with the American Psycho book, which I have still never finished.
Never have I ever reread horror as a comfort media because the fear was familiar.
I feel like all of my comfort media is horror. So yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that one.
Never have I ever judged a character for going somewhere dangerous while knowing I'd do the same thing for plot reasons.
Um, have I ever judged a character? I try to be nicer about that. So I actually don't think I have.
I I judge them in the classic way, where they run past the front door away from the killer, but they don't go out the front door.
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to be in my like forgiveness extension of grace era for stupid horror decisions. So
And the last one: never have I ever finished a horror book, stared into the void, and immediately recommended it to someone else.
yeah, immediately. I have done
Yeah,
that for most horror books.
yeah. I think you did that in the middle of this game.
Yep.
Brings us back to the final round of questions. And these are my unhinged bit where I just kind of put some stuff together. So, number one, if you could turn any mundane household object into a cursed item, what would it be and why?
Oh my god, I have such a niche reference that I don't know if anyone is going to know. But have you seen like is it the fourth one? There's like a direct to video sequel to the Amityville Horror. It's like the fourth one or the fifth one or something like that.
Oh, they're all so bad.
The moral of the story is that there's an evil lamp in it, whereas like the lamp was what was evil the whole time. That was where the demon was, in the lamp. So every time I try to get any like stupid, ridiculous haunted item, it's always a lamp now.
Beautiful. Turn all your lamps off, people. They're evil.
It's just like this hideous lamp that's just like way too tall. It's like the leg lamp
Oh
from
god.
A Christmas Story, and just like how hideous and awful and out of place it is.
What is the most inappropriate snack you could eat while reading Indigent?
Um, hmm. I am going to go with the obvious answer of gummy worms, but I
Ugh.
feel like any food would be very inappropriate.
And the final question. If you had to survive a night in your own book, could you?
Um, I could I make it depressing? I could make this depressing. I'm gonna say yes, I could survive a night in my book because all of the people who die are like horrifically below the poverty level, which I have thankfully risen out of into my adulthood. So I'm not gonna be targeted by the roving nomadic band of cannibals that eats like poor people who no one cares about, thankfully.
Good good news, I think. I
So yeah, I would survive just by basis of the fact that I live in an apartment that is slightly nicer than the characters in my book. But that's good for
Solid.
me and pretty much only me.
Solid. For you and only you, yeah. And this last question is for anyone who helped you get the book out there in the world. Are there any agents, editors, publishers, beta readers, workshop partners, even partners who maybe had to listen to you talk about vampiric worms bursting out of people that you would like to give a shout out to today?
Oh yeah, obviously my partner Alex, who helped me a bunch with the screenplay, but who hates reading books, so has not read my book yet.
Hates reading books!
So he's not a fan, but he'll help me with other things. There's I've had too many editors for this one. There's Dominique and Kelly and other Kelly. I've had two Kellys help edit this one who are really cool. And there's also Adam, who is like the script acquisitions person at WME, who
Mhm.
told me that I should turn this into a book and was very inspiring and encouraging in that entire process of getting me off my butt to actually write it. So, yeah, it's a multiple person collaborative process,
I
even though
find
I would rather it not be, but
I find most books tend to be a collaborative process. With that said, that is a wrap on this episode of Booked All Night. We'd love for you to be a part of the conversation at home, so don't forget to rate the show, drop a comment, subscribe, and leave some fan mail. Our next guest is Ali Lasky, who will be here next Saturday, but we won't be doing it live because producer Rob will not be able to do it with us. Get your questions in for her before January 24th so you don't miss out. Booked All Night is produced by Rob Cook and his cats, so when you share an episode, be sure to tag us at Booked All Night Pod on Instagram or Threads, and give a shout out to our guy in the sound booth and demand more cat pictures. For more updates and to check out the reading schedule to learn I'm so glad we get to edit this later, but for everybody watching, I'm so sorry that I'm just stumbling over this. It's our first one back,
late
all right?
night pod, we're
Yeah.
good.
Late night pod, it's fine. It's fine. For more updates, to check out the reading schedule and to learn about upcoming interviews, visit bookedallnight.co. Once again, because I stumble over it all the time, that is bookedallnight.co. Until next time, booklets, this is Jess and Brianna Cox signing off and reminding you to stay booked all night.